Get right to it. Fire away.
Quick question, and I don't follow recruiting. Did you recruit any of the guys that are on Pitt's roster? Did Pitt recruit any of the players? Have you gone up against them at all in recruiting?
Not so much recruiting. Obviously, know Cameron Corrin, the post player. He's from the Metroplex area, so familiar with him. And then DeMarco Minor, their point guard, we actually played against last year when he was at Oregon State. The rest, not super familiar with, other than just, scouting them.
And I think you said on your radio show yesterday you have a tie with Capel.
Yeah, so I was, again, when I got the head coaching job at Paris Junior College, I was obviously extremely young coach at that time, and he had just got the head coaching job at Oklahoma, young coach as well, and they recruited we had a center from Cincinnati actually named Orlando Allen, and they ended up signing him at Oklahoma, and so got to know him a little bit during that time period.
What do you see from, obviously you're going to plan on Cummings playing. What do you see from Pitt from their first 3 games?
Yeah, they've done a really good job of getting to the foul line. They've shot more, they've made more free throws than their opponents have attempted, which is always a good sign. They've defended well. Again, kind of starts with Minor. He's a competitor. He's gritty. He's tough. He runs their team. He can defend the ball, gets them into their actions. Cummings can make shots, and then Cameron Corrin, he's gotten a lot better, and was a second in the league last year in the ACC in field goal percentage, and he's expanded his game a little bit and given him a viable option down there. And then those young guys are aggressive, confident players too.
Still playing 4 out. I haven't watched any of their games. The way he's played in the past.
Yeah, similar. They'll run some initial actions to get the ball where it wants to go, and then do a good job of kind of manipulating space and ball screens. And like I said, shot clock gets late. They have a couple guards that have the capability to make late clock plays either for themselves or for somebody else.
With some of your defensive principles that you've listed over the past few weeks, when you go into one game and looking at what you're going against, will you emphasize one over the other, as in gap control, keeping it on one side? Are there things that stand out about each opponent?
Yeah, so I think like anything, what you would like to have is defensive versatility, the same way you'd like to have offensive versatility, and I think it's simply put, which was kind of stated in your question. You do have to kind of identify, okay, what is your opponent trying to do? What are their strengths? And not that your overall philosophy changes, but you may make some small adjustments to what you're trying to do, and like what you're willing to, live with, so to speak, knowing that you may have to adjust throughout the game as well. Something that you felt like, okay, we're willing to live with this. Maybe that starts hurting you, then you're not willing to. So there's always a little variance game to game. Again, if you're playing against somebody that is heavily reliant on the three, then obviously you're going to try to maybe put a little emphasis on taking away the three, knowing that could open up some drives and create some other issues. So you always want versatility, with what you're doing. The more ways you have to win a game, the better.
And then understanding it's still early in the season, how versatile do you feel like this team is? Again, with the understanding you've got 2 more guys coming.
Yeah, I think long term, I think we have the opportunity to be extremely versatile defensively, because both of those guys provide you a level of switchability that you can have, and are 2 of your better movers. So I think we're still learning, we're still growing, we're still trying to figure out exactly what our strengths are going to be defensively. And again, I thought those 3 games, 6 days and 3 games. 3 games in 6 days, challenged us in a lot of different ways and gave us opportunity to learn through those.
Coach, with Cummings, is it just like it sounds like it's a rolled ankle, and obviously, there's bigger injuries than that, but is it just an assumption that he's going to play, or is there staff research involved in what his status might be?
Yeah, that's obviously a relevant question, and it's kind of something new that college athletics is kind of having to learn how you're going to navigate these type of things. As you know, obviously it was a very you were used to it in pro sports, the probable, questionable, doubtful, in, out, and now even now that's entered into college sports and the landscape of it. And when you get into Big 12 play, like you have to. And I'm not even involved in it, ironically. I mean, I'm aware of it, but, it comes from your medical staff, and they actually have to put something out there that, lets everybody know everybody's status. So you would, until you hear otherwise, it is like I think you always kind of have to assume they're going to play, until you actually, unless it's a season-ending injury, you kind of go into it knowing that you got to be prepared for him to play.
And then with Corhin,
yeah.
His matchup with Harlan, how do you kind of? I mean, two pretty big button.
Yeah, two big players, two experienced guys, and like I said, man, Cameron's playing at an extremely high level. He's rebounding the ball well. He's he has the ability to step out and make some threes, and which can spread you out a little bit. So he's a tough cover, and like most good players, you'll have some individual matchup, but it's our team defense has got to be. He's not one guy's never just going to shut one guy down. In particular, when you're talking about pick and roll basketball, which he's good in pick and roll because he can pop a little bit, he can roll, he can facilitate. So they do a good job of moving him around and getting the ball to him in different spots.
You approach rivalry games, and how have you presented it to your players in the past?
No different than we really presented it to these guys. I mean, like I told our guys yesterday, two things can be true at once, and you don't have to just mention this on the radio show last night. You don't have to live in this black and white, binary of the way like everybody wants to kind of do things now in the world that we live in. It's like this or this, and there's no in between. But the way I presented it was like, again, you can't really shy away from the fact that it is a big game. You don't have to be here long, even though our players have never actually played in this game. I haven't coached in this game. It doesn't take long to realize how important the game is to so many people around the state and our university, while at the same time understanding that regardless of what happens tomorrow night, that you still have 25, 26 more regular season games, hopefully Big 12 tournament, hopefully NCAA tournament, and you're making a run. So it's like, while it is really important, and you can't like shy away from that, like, because to shy away from it is, again, being disingenuous, and you're not living in reality. But also the reality is that your long-term goals, nothing's it's not a formality after tomorrow night, so you gotta embrace it. You got to play with emotion. You can't play emotional. You can't let the game itself break you down, get you outside of character. And you got to try to execute, regardless whether it's tomorrow night against Pitt in front of 14,000 people, or you're playing, Maryland in a closed-door scrimmage, or you're playing Wheeler. Like, you still have to be able to execute.
The reality is, your roster, there's nobody on your roster that is familiar with the game. They're not from here. Mm-hmm. And you look at Pitt's roster, they got guys all over the world. Mm-hmm. And they got one guy in the game that's from around here. Mm-hmm. Is there an educational process that goes into that a little bit?
I wouldn't say an educational process, because again, you don't have to be here long to realize it, and our players got to experience it. The football game, I got to experience it on day one. Day one, the first day I was here, I went to the baseball game. We were playing Pitt, so it's not. And especially like, no one's insulated from the passion and the feeling of this game and the excitement of it, and so you can't run from that. But at the same time, you can't allow that to get outside of your character, get outside of our character, try to do things that maybe you shouldn't be able to do out there, or you shouldn't be trying to do. And letting the game itself break you down. You got to go, you got to go execute. And again, this is like for players and coaches and everybody involved. Like these are, it's a blessing to be able to play in these type of games. This is what these guys work hard for, and certainly looking forward to the challenge.
Funny thing about that baseball game you mentioned, I heard a story, I don't know if it's true or not, but apparently one of your children went up to Ren and asked about the Sweet Caroline song, and apparently that's why he played it.
I don't know. I don't know if that's why he played it. I'm sure there was some level of intention to play it that night, regardless of that. But yeah, I mean, I had once it became fully. Once we knew as a family for sure that this is what we were going to do. Yeah, my daughter sent me clips of the football games, probably like 2 hours into this being final. So. Everybody's like I said, everybody's aware of it, and it's a big game because it's the next game on your schedule, and it's another opportunity for us to get better.
What was your reaction to hearing the chant?
Yeah,
the first time?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I did not know that, but it's catchy. It has a nice ring to it. It does. It does.
Ross, is there a difference between a non-conference rivalry game like this currently is and a conference rivalry game?
Not, unless you're in. I guess the biggest difference in conferences, there's always the opportunity that you could play them again, whether it's, whether you play them twice or maybe you play them in the conference tournament. This one, not to say that we both couldn't play each other in the NCAA tournament, but this is kind of the only opportunity that you're playing them here. And then if you were to play them in the NCAA tournament, it'd be on a neutral floor. And I do think there's still something awesome about playing true home road games. So I think that's probably the biggest difference between the two.
Was there rivalry nature to the scheduling in North Texas? I think SMU you played.
Yeah, that was. I talked about that a little bit last night. So, SMU is in Highland Park, which is probably 25 minutes from Denton, where North Texas was. They had played each other in football, but those two schools had not played each other in basketball for like 25 years, and then when North Texas joined the American, the game had to happen, and so that was that one meant a lot to a lot of people there, and I think again saying two things can be true at once. And I talked to our guys about this a little bit yesterday. I mean, everyone's played in, games that were very important to them. It may just not be as equally important to other people. So when you talk about, have you played in big games? Have you been a part of big games? All these guys have been a part of, big games. To them, at that time period, was the biggest game in their life. I haven't coached in this game, but you've coached in games. Again, when I was a junior college coach, you coached in the national championship game. That's a pretty big game to you in that moment. It may not just mean as much to people outside of your program, but it's not like when you're going through big games, rivalry games, it's not like it's like, oh man, I want to win this game. I really want to win this game. I mean, you want to win every game that you play in, but this one, again, there's just a little more that means to people outside of your building, and you understand that, and you want to honor that as well.
What's Midland Odessa like? It's very different, but they're packed together.
Yeah.
It's high school. It's all the college sports.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, yeah, Midland High, Odessa Permian, Mojo Magic, Friday Night Lights, and so that was another one. And again, I was in Midland for 2 years, and when you go out there, there's kind of a saying amongst the people that own the oil fields and the oil companies, they live in Midland. The people that work in the oil fields and work on the oil rigs, they live in Odessa, and there's definitely some friction there, and it literally is. I mean, they're kind of the same area, because even when I moved there, again, you know, I was at Midland, and people be talking about Odessa. And the first time I went to Odessa, I was like, man, it kind of looks like Midland to me. But you know I haven't lived here. So yeah, I mean, so all those things, and again, you know, you didn't have 14,000 people in that game, but you had, you know, 3,000 people in that game, and it meant a lot to those people that were involved in that rivalry, just like this one means a lot to people here. So you have to be mindful of that stuff. Again, you can't shy away from it, but at the end of the day, when the ball actually gets tipped tomorrow, it does come down to like who can execute better for 40 minutes.
Recruiting for the program moving forward is obviously going to be to some degree different than what it was, you know, trying to build it from scratch. How much will the state of Pennsylvania become a recruiting area for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously, anytime you're, especially with your high school recruiting, or you know, the portal's so different now. But anytime you can kind of start, you know, you put the little pin where you are in Morgantown, and you start that radius. I mean, obviously, you always want to start as close to home as you can, and you know, it adds, and then even if you don't get them on the front side, you can recruit them, and then they go somewhere else. Then maybe they do decide they want to get back a little closer to home for various reasons. So yeah, whether it's, you know, Pittsburgh or the DMV or you know, New York, it's what's kind of unique about Morgantown in itself that I think surprises a lot of people until you actually understand the geographical nature of it, is like how close it actually is to so many major metropolitan cities.
I mean, there wasn't, like, when you look your roster now, their roster now, that there wasn't a lot of, that could change in the years to come, maybe.
Could,
possibly.
yeah, could, yeah. I mean, you're never gonna say no to a good player, right. You know, and if it happens to be close to your proximity, it's even better.
I'm interested to see the environment tomorrow and to see how your guys respond. It's going to be dramatically different than the first 3 games.
It is, yeah, and looking forward to, you know, like you said, learning through that experience and growing through it together, and you know, making sure that, you know, our guys, you know, communication is a little different. You know, you got to really be tight with your communication. In particular, you know, it's different than, like, you know, when you go on the road and play football, the crowd noise impacts your offense more than your defense. Ironically, it's different in basketball because the noise level is so high when you're on defense and they're on offense, and there's not as much cadence communication there is initially on offense, but to be able to verbalize your calls and cues, and not only verbalize it, but then hear it and then execute it. You know, a lot of those things that you got to be really, and we challenge those guys all the time. You know, you can get away with it in a quieter gym, but like, you're going to have to really trust your voice and use your voice defensively, maybe more than even offensively tomorrow night.
May even start before the game in traffic getting to the arena.
Could, yeah, it could, yeah, it's could. I'm sure it'll be a learning experience for all of us.
Yeah.
With on Chance, I mean, it's not like he's injured. He just has to set out the fight. So how do you keep him prepared, I guess, during these first 5 games, and then when he is eligible to come back, I mean, does he jump right back in, or how does that kind of like work out?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, he and some of our lower minute, you know, guys over that course of that 3, they were having kind of some secondary inter squad scrimmaging. He gets extra conditioning in, you know, like a day like yesterday when you're able to have a little more normal practice per se. You know, he's a full participant, and you just kind of have him in there like you would whether he was playing or not playing. And it was, again, this game tomorrow was kind of, that date was kind of a hard date already, and then was the Mount St. Mary's. But the Campbell game, we squeezed in there, and then the Lafayette game, like, we squeezed in there with the intention of trying to get those 5 games out of the way as quickly as you possibly could, knowing you're going to get them back, and then wanting the longest amount of time with your group and your core group. And
Thanksgiving.
yeah, try, yeah.
Anything to add on Jackson? Still day to day.
He's day to day. He's been a full participant in our practices. He also participated in some of those secondary scrimmages that we had. There's nothing from a medical standpoint that says, hey, we don't want him out there. You want to make sure that he's getting the proper build up, not to just protect the wrist and the hand, but to protect the rest of his body and get him using. And so, he, and then the other thing that hurts him just a little bit is, like I mentioned, because you play 3 games in 6 days, you're not practicing as much. And then even like today and yesterday, it's not like you're going full bore like you would in the summer or early fall. So it's just getting that extra work in, getting those extra scrimmage minutes for him, and just getting him comfortable back playing basketball again.
Made a decision if he'll dress. Will he dress tomorrow?
We're still talking about it.
Playing 3 and 6 to open up and having at least a little bit of a break now is a bigger benefit to get legs back or to get some time on the practice court to really work on some things.
Combination of both. And again, we started practicing in June 1st, and you get all the way to the games, and we needed games. We needed games to improve. We needed games to learn about ourselves, magnify some weaknesses. Maybe highlight some strengths of ours, and then coming out of that 3 games in 6 days, we needed exactly what you said. We needed a little rest, and then we needed to be able to get back out on the practice floor and fine-tune some things, look at some things we needed to get better at, which is really everything at this moment, and get an opportunity to get your legs back under you a little bit, but then also practice.
Ross, there's not a lot of signs of this, but today's the first day of the signing period.
Yeah.
How much has the job changed with the way it's shifted in the past couple of years? Because I imagine it'd be frantic the prior 96 hours, and now, not that it's not, but it just seems like it's very different.
Yeah, and the signing period itself is a little longer now, and so I don't remember exactly what it used to be, but there was that like you said, that panic and anxiety to see those letter of intents come, standing by a fax machine. Again, I know I still look kind of young, but I'm not so young that I wasn't in it wasn't all emails and Google flash drives and drop boxes. I mean, yeah, you'd sit by there and you'd wait for that letter of intent to be faxed over and get it over to your compliance so they could sign it, and or FedEx and all the other things, but it's just there's not as much there's not as much like urgency, like, man, we need to get this letter of intent and scholarship agreement in today. You know that there's the period in the window. You feel confident that the people that are supposed to be doing all that stuff are going to do all that, and it is a little different in that regard.
Is it better maybe it's better for the coach's lifestyle, but I'm just thinking like you get Jaden late in the game, right? Mm-hmm. But there's going to be people like that, of
course,
in March, and then you could get somebody now who maybe he changes his mind, he just wants out of the LOI, which is pretty easy now too. Are there benefits to this that just the margin of error seems more manageable now than forcing everybody into November?
Yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, like you said, I wouldn't say like you're wrong. I would think it would probably be just dependent on, if you had somebody in your fold that you were really counting on being a big part of what you were doing, and you kind of started building around that, and then at the last second he decided he didn't want to come, that's still going to sting pretty good, I think what now is, when with like the rules automatically, like with coaching changes, if a coaching change occurs, then it's, back previously you had to still get a release and people had to sign off of you getting your release even if there was a coaching change. Well, now if there's a coaching change, people just automatically get out of their letter of intents, and so that's what you kind of see there in the spring. But it's all very fluid, I guess would be the best way to put it, man. It's like what's true today may not be true tomorrow.
You say no one uses use fax machines anymore? I thought they still use those for something.
Yeah, every once in a while you hear that I don't even know if it's a ringtone or what that thing is, but you still hear it every once in a while. Somebody's doing the dial-up.
Rebounding, how much of that will be a key for the game?
Yeah, it'll be huge. I mean, I think they're plus 13 on the glass. And again, that a lot of that comes from product of their ability to drive the ball, which is, them getting to the foul line and being aggressive. 13 and 8, two freshmen, but they both are really, aggressive drivers, and they could put rim pressure on you. And then, if you're constantly in rotations, you're going to open yourself up for some offensive rebounding on the backside. So it's always a big part of what we do and a part of what we talk about. But I think, for instance, for us, the Campbell game in particular, because we talked about the Mount St. Mary's game was a little distorted from a rebounding standpoint, so if you looked at like our defensive rebounding percentage coming out of that Mount St. Mary's game, it would have been one of the best. If that was your end number at the end of the year, it would have been one of the best defensive rebounding numbers in the entire country. But you turn them over, you don't have as many possessions. But the Campbell game, again, I did think they actually hurt us on the glass, but I thought a big part of that was our inability to stay in front of the basketball, in particular to start the second half.
One more, Ross, on Odessa Midland. Your first year, did they beat you to end the season?
Yes.
So you still went to the tournament though, right? You remember this? That's a long time ago.
So
this works perfect.
So my first year at Midland, we started the season 26-0, and we lost to Howard at Howard, which Big Spring, Texas, was very close to us as well. Mark Adams was the head coach there. He had a player, some of you may know, that ended up at Marquette, Jay Crowder, and we beat them at our place. They beat us, and then so we were 28-1 going into our last game, and we got beat by Odessa. And Dennis Helms was the coach there. Dennis Helms was at Odessa, coached Larry Johnson, bounced around a little bit, then he came back to Odessa. And then we ended up losing to Howard in the regional championship game. At this point in time in junior college, only one team from each region went to the national tournament. Now they actually have at-large bids like the big one does. And we lost to Howard. Howard beat us, and we were the number one team in the country. Howard was the number two team in the country. They beat us to go to the national tournament, and they ended up winning the national championship that year.
When you lose to Odessa, do you know you're going to the postseason regardless? Or
You're going to your conference tournament for sure. You go to your regional tournament. The top four teams in it was the Western WAC-JAC is what they called it, the Western Athletic Junior College Association, WAC-JAC, and the top four teams in that one were going, and then the top four teams out of the north side of the conference were going, 1, 4, 2, 3 on each side. So we knew our season wasn't over, and again at that point in time there were no even at-large bids. You knew you had to go to your conference tournament, and you had to win 3 games in 3 days, regardless if you were undefeated on the season or if you were the 4 seed. You were going to have to win 3 games.
Right. That's pretty much it.
That was that one, yeah.
And you got them 3 times the next year.
We got them 3 times the next year, yes. Okay. Yes. Got them pretty good in the conference tournament too. We got them by about 28, I think.
The first 3 games, it wasn't like there weren't challenges presented to you guys over the first 3 games. But with this game, does it give you more of a sense of where the team is? I mean, this team obviously can match up a little bit more physically than some of the others. Does it give you a better idea of
I think it's
where they're at?
Again, yeah. I mean, and this certainly isn't a knock on any of our previous opponents. I mean, you've heard me say that. I respect everybody, and each team challenges you in different ways. But this is the best team of the 4. Not only on paper but from a production standpoint. So yeah, it's it'll be a great test, and it's kind of what we need at this moment, and gives us an opportunity to, take a step up and be a incredible environment tomorrow evening. And it is a 6 o'clock game. Everybody remember that, not the 7 o'clock game, 6 o'clock. I would imagine there will be a little more traffic flow in the area, so try to get there early if you can. But yeah, it'll definitely, we're definitely excited about it, and look forward to playing the game. And I think we'll be better tomorrow at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. I hope that it's in a win, but I think we'll be a better basketball team for the 40 minutes that we're going to get in that environment against that team.
Coach, thank you.
Thank y'all.